So our first story comes to us via a small clip of the Minister of National Security, who once again outlines what he believes to be his job description, although I believe it leaves a lot to be desired. So let's just take a listen to what the Minister of National Security had to say before we comment any further.
About your crime plan with the escalating crime and so on. Are there any plans to resume hangings or implement a state of emergency or have some other? What exactly is your plan to deal with escalating crime?
You've just asked a few very troubling questions, difficult questions. First of all, a minister of government does not generate or create any crime plan. That is a matter for the police commissioner. That is a matter for the defense force that supports the police in dealing with these issues. I've always said I know exactly what my responsibilities as a minister of government are, and it does not include me creating no crime plan. So when I hear particularly some who ought to know better, even in the parliament, calling on me to create a crime plan, I wonder, because if I had a crime plan, if they left a crime plan up to me and lock up all of them, so wouldn't be talking a lot, starting from people on the other side in the parliament, some of whom I think deserve the attention that so far they've only marginally had. So crime plan is not for me, that is for the police, and I'm aware that the police have plans and strategies along with the defense force which they are operating. My job is to provide them with the policy directions of the people of Trinidad and Tobago through the government as we understand it, by virtue of our being in government, and to ensure that they understand these policies particularly clearly. In addition to that, my job involves providing all of the resources that they need in order to carry out their respective mandates. And that we do in accordance with our budgetary allocations and certainly in accordance with what Mother Trinidad and Tobago could afford at any particular point in time.
Would you support a gun amnesty? That's
my job also involves encouraging and supporting and upholding, as far as a parliamentarian and a minister could, and a conscious man, the rule of law, the tenets of the Constitution, and to encourage them to carry out their mandate on behalf of we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Some people have been calling for a gun amnesty. Is that something you would support?
I think not. For me personally, but again, that wouldn't be my individual call. I'm just one member of the government, and again, these kinds of things are usually done on the advice of the police commissioner. Similarly, you asked about the state of emergency. In 2011, it was, we had a state of emergency here, and there was a whole lot of toing and froing following it, when it was revealed that the then commissioner, a man called Dwayne Gibbs, was totally unaware of the fact that there would have been a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago, particularly to deal with crime and criminality, which was his police commissioner's main mandate. That would not happen with us.
So, the minister said a lot. There are two overall things that I'd like to discuss. Now, the more important part would be, first, by his own admittance, he is responsible in some way for the budgets of the services under the Ministry of National Security. He is the elected official, the line minister, who is supposed to oversee them. Right now, on a practical level, that might just mean that he might be the advocate, or he might be the main person who has to be read in and briefed on capabilities and assess these situations before it goes to cabinet, before it goes to the prime minister, the minister of finance, etc. But the long and short is, the budgetary controls to some extent goes through his office first. He is the point man for the administration. That's one of the reasons for having a ministerial post. You're not going to, you shouldn't have the minister of finance be overseeing minute details of things in other ministries. The other thing is the fact that, look, the services, from what we understand, don't necessarily play nice together. And you can't expect them to figure it out Like, it's fine to let children figure out how to socialize amongst each other. It's different when you have armed protective services. Like, well, you know what? They'll figure it out. They have a rivalry. The Coast Guard picking up the head of legal for the police commissioner at the time. They'll figure it out. It's fine. No. Also, if you want to have a coherent overall response to crime that involves all your services, you need someone to deconflict, to mediate, to coordinate. And I would assume, since there is nobody else above the commissioner, the head of the defense force, etc., Coast Guard, what have you. Yes, I'm not too sure if the vice air marshal is also has some sort of authority over the commissioner of police. So you need somebody to say, listen, X, Y, Z. This is the overall philosophy that the government would like you all to operate under. You all make the specific plans and the details. But we, under our guidance, because we are the elected leadership.
When the administration is in power, it's not X, Y, and Z. It's either P, N, M, or U, N, C. Let's understand that.
Or Watson Duke, not PDP. Just saying.
Sure. Anyway, but this man is honestly, he's verbally gifted, but he's so empty-minded and completely clueless. In my opinion, he kind of contradicted himself in his statements there. It's not my job to come up with a crime plan. That is the job of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. However, it is my job to guide them in terms of policy, which is part of a bloody crime plan.
So technically, yes, he's not going to say what criminal they're going to go after. But right, the guiding policy is part of an overall plan. And if we want, say, the defense force to be involved in helping to fight crime, the police commissioner have no authority to tell them what to do.
I also believe that Fitzgerald Hinds is under the thought or this bubble that my role of Minister of National Security is waking up every morning, putting on my suit, putting on my Trinidad and Tobago pin, and attending meetings. I'll come home, I'll sleep, I'll collect my paycheck at the end of the month. That's what he thinks his job is.
Wait. Like, I don't know, political appointees to state boards.
But hold on.
Or about half of the public service.
He says that...
He collects the check, but not actually, does everything he can to not have responsibilities.
Let me finish. The point is, the individual that we're speaking of here, the Honourable Minister, my gosh, I can't believe those two words go in the same sentence. But this gentleman in particular, I cannot understand how he is still even considered a member of government. Why is he considered there? Why is he in that position? People have said because he's a puppet. He takes instructions very well.
No one else wants that position.
But furthermore, you said your job is policy direction. What policies? What policies do you speak of? What policy direction? Where are we going? Where are we heading? And clearly, one, there is no crime plan. And clearly, two, you're not even guiding in terms of policy. The second point that he made is with respect to ensuring that they have the necessary resources. If we take a look at just the fire services this week and the stories that have been coming out following the death of Kimber Morris and her daughter, then clearly he has also failed in that position. So my question to Fitzgerald Hinds is not what is your role as Minister of National Security. Clearly you don't know what that is, and clearly you don't do what even you say or suggest is your role. My question would be, do you think that you have been Minister of National Security for how many years now? Do you believe that you have been a success? Do you believe that you've done anything different? Do you think that you've shown us policy direction or any sense of policy that has actually worked? I wonder what he'll say then.
The irony is, and we've discussed this concept with regards to the DPP's office, the commissioner can make all the plans that she wants, but if she wants to try anything novel, where's the budget for that? Or wait, who controls that? So to some extent, he has levels of control over what is technically supposed to be independent officers. And again, at the very least, he's supposed to be read into these plans, briefed on these plans, and to be like the government official, the member of cabinet that's supposed to be the most knowledgeable about these things is supposed to be him. That's the point of the role. But it's almost as though, and usually in politics, you're trying to pull the civilian, and saying, no, your authority does not extend this far, and trying to rein the civilian leadership in, who wants to do too much because they want to appear strong to the electorate. But in his case, it's like it's a public service who just wants to collect a check and be told when to show up for meetings.
I cannot understand why we have a Ministry of National Security when there is no national security. And people may say, Ketan, how could you make a statement like that? We have no national security. Because you have, no, listen.
Say some of that for the question.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. You have a Trans-Tobago Police Service, you have a Defence Force, you have an Air Guard, you have a Coast Guard. That doesn't mean you have national security, because clearly none of these things are working. And I think that's also one of the reasons why criminals just don't care anymore. When you have an individual who is more or less a joke as a Minister of National Security, they realize, hold on, they're not serious about it. Forget about it. We can do whatever we want.
The indicator for him not being serious about it is the fact that what should have been a serious question and what should have been a serious answer was turned into a bit of a joke when he wanted to include a little political bubble in the middle, where he said, well, the first thing I would do if you want my opinion on a crime plan, I'll go and lock up the other side. That literally implies political prosecution
and not
persecution.
No, forget about that. We know it's absolute nonsense.
I know it's nonsense, but for you to throw that in the mix of what should be a serious response, are you looking down on the reporter that asked you that question?
It's sad to say this, but we've grown accustomed to this. If he did not suggest anything like that, I would have said, oh my God, this is a positive change. I expected that from him. But furthermore, Fitzgerald Hinds is not an individual to mediate or anything. He can talk, right? But he could talk nonsense in perhaps in perfect English and very good use of language. But he talks nonsense. And furthermore, he can't mediate because he ignites. He can't mediate. But perhaps we should be glad that he is not the Commissioner of Police, because he said that the first thing he would do is go and arrest all the talkers, and quite frankly, you and I do that a lot, so we might be in prison right now if that was the case.
Again, political persecution. But to make jokes about a subject like that, especially when technically the opposition is trying to criticize you about that, or to say flippant statements about it, I think was irresponsible.